Am I the butthole for telling my brother the truth on why I don't ask him for anything? I, 19 female, have 3 brothers, 27, 28 and 32. My oldest brother, Dave, got married to Sarah in May. I study halfway across the world from my hometown where my family are. I got really sick a few months ago and rushed to the nearest hospital. Turns out they don't accept my insurance and I had to pay out of pocket. I was €50 short and called everyone I could but no one was picking up. I then called my oldest brother, Dave, because he always picks up and asked him to send me €50 and I would send it back once I get paid in a few days. He told me not to be ridiculous and he didn't need me to pay him back €50. Sarah called me that night and asked how I was doing. After the chit-chat, she asked if I could ask someone else the next time I need money because my brother is a married man. I was shocked but I apologized and said I offered to pay him back. She said it's fine but next time, I should plan my finances in advance so I won't have to rely on a married man. It's my birthday soon and Dave called to ask what I wanted. I said nothing and that I was fine but I appreciated him asking. My other brother called to ask what I wanted and I said I wanted some money to heat my apartment. I couldn't afford to heat it this month. He was baffled that I was so broke I couldn't afford heating and I wasn't saying anything. He started tearing up on the phone call with me and ended the call, and sent me €500 later. I guess he told Dave about the call with me because Dave called me and started interrogating me on why I just told him I didn't need anything, and then asked my youngest brother. He sounded offended and asked why I feel like I can't rely on him. I asked, haven't you spoken to Sarah about this? He was confused on what I meant and I told him about the conversation I had with Sarah after he sent me the €50 for the hospital. He said he'd call me back but he hasn't. A cousin of mine sent me a message a few hours ago saying I was a jerk for meddling in their marriage, and that Dave didn't owe me anything. I was like, when did I say Dave owed me anything? I have never relied on him for anything, nor do I plan on it. I mean, I feel bad that Dave and Sarah are fighting and I can't help but feel weirded out that Sarah did that behind his back and he had no clue. I've been extremely anxious and I can't stop shaking. Am I the butthole? Not the butthole. Sarah is a manipulative arse. Your brother had no idea she had that conversation with you. Sarah's now playing the victim. Your brother maybe realized what sort of nasty person he may have married because there may be a lot more things along the same lines that you have no idea about. Not the butthole. There is something seriously wrong with your sister-in-law. Do not trust her. Personally, when someone starts to show me this type of behavior, if I cannot get away from them, I keep screenshots and record conversations just in case they start playing games and fricking with me down the line. Not the butthole. WTF, did I just even read? Of course your brothers would be baffled that you want freaking heat as a birthday present, and I hope Dave forces Sarah to apologize to you, publicly, as should your cousin. WIBTA. Sarah is a greedy and possessive witch. You should be able to rely on family and you offered to pay him back. Sarah is the witch. Am I the butthole for showing no emotion to my family over my vegetarianism? I have been a vegetarian, pescatarian, for around 4 years. My family loves meat, so I buy my own vegetarian options and cook my own food. Thankfully, most of my culture's food can become vegetarian if you just don't eat the meat or just eat the seafood version. I don't force my family or others to be vegetarian and I never will. It's their choice whether or not they want to try it. And I also eat plentiful, even gained a little weight, so I'm not starving as many would think this lifestyle would be. I also take vitamins like iron and other supplements that I may be lacking. I am grateful to have most of my family members to understand my life choices. It doesn't really bother them as our culture basically mostly eats seafood. But I do have certain members that just will never accept it. By that I mean they would constantly tell me to eat meat and insult me. Every single time, my dad and I go to the family gathering and get to the food, he would loudly say so everyone can hear, "Oh, they don't have food for you here, so you have to eat meat. Stop being vegetarian," cut to me staring at mostly seafood options, soups, rice, etc. And every time I would give him no emotion after that. Yes, I've told him plenty times how that bothers me, but he doesn't care. Recently, I met my uncle who happened to be a nurse. The reason why I mentioned this is I thought nurses would have an open mind to different lifestyles, as nurses accommodates to different patients who have different preferences with their diet and culture, including those with vegetarian lifestyles. But once he found out I was vegetarian, he kept telling me to eat meat over and over again. He was laughing and he turned to me expecting some reaction, but I gave him none. No emotion whatsoever, not even a smile or a chuckle. No comeback, none. Just stared at him blankly. Respect is such an easy gift that was never given. I know there are some who will never want to be vegetarian, but they still respected my choice and never forced me to change. My mother stepped me aside and told me I was being disrespectful for not talking and being nice to my uncle. Am I the butthole? Note, sorry for the confusion, but the reason I call it vegetarian is because in my culture, seafood isn't seen as meat, even though in the English language it is. But it's up to you whether or not you consider it. Not the butthole. You did nothing wrong. Why is it disrespectful to not react to them being rude to you? As an aside, you aren't even vegetarian. You are pescatarian, which isn't the same thing. Not the butthole. Silence can be one of the best responses to people who say inappropriate things, especially if what they really seek is an emotional reaction. Am I the butthole for not defending my BF when my brother asked him to leave? My 28 female boyfriend, 27 male, Ryan, likes to help others. He is the type of guy who would give a coworker money for their rent or buy groceries for our neighbor. However, he can take it too far at times. He often tries to help people without asking if they need or want his help. Every year, my brother, 35 male, Paul, and his wife, 33 female, Lily, host a holiday dinner. This year Ryan attended for the first time. Before we left for their house, I told Ryan that Lily was legally blind and had been her entire life. She knew what she could and could not do. I told Ryan to only help Lily if she asked for help. We arrived early so I could help Paul and Lily cook. While we were cooking, Ryan kept telling Lily things, like, Lily, if you're looking for the salt, it's to your right, or Lily, don't put that there, it's too close to the edge. Lily and Paul both told him that while his commentary was somewhat helpful, it was completely unnecessary. Still, Ryan did not stop. However, things became tense when Lily went to go chop vegetables. When she pulled out a knife, Ryan stopped her and asked if he could take over because he didn't want Lily to hurt herself. Lily said she'd be fine, but Ryan insisted she give him the knife. Finally, Paul got annoyed and told Ryan to stop. Ryan did stop, but he kept hovering over Lily while she was chopping. I asked Ryan to sit down until dinner was ready, but Ryan insisted that he just wanted to help. Finally, Lily asked him and I to help set the table and greet people arriving. We did, but things were still tense. I did pull Ryan to the side and reminded him again to only help Lily if she asked for it. He agreed, but I could tell that he was still upset. Everything finally boiled over after dinner. My nieces, 5-3, have a game they love to play with their mother. They will hand Lily something, and Lily would have to guess what it is. Lily would sometimes make a couple of clearly outrageous guesses, like saying an egg is an elephant or a shoe, to make her daughters laugh. After dinner, the eldest handed Lily the salt shaker. When Lily guessed it was a phone, Ryan piped up and said it was a salt shaker. Lily laughed it off and explained the game to Ryan, but I could see she was annoyed. My niece then handed Lily a coin. When Lily guessed incorrectly, Ryan loudly told Lily it was a coin. This was apparently the last straw for Paul. Paul demanded that Ryan leave since he clearly couldn't respect Lily. Ryan insisted that he was trying to be helpful. However, Lily said it was probably best if Ryan and I left. I quickly gathered up our things and managed to convince Ryan to leave. Ryan is currently pissed at me. He said I should have defended him, especially since I knew he was only being helpful. He also insisted that I should have stood up against Paul's overreaction, Ryan's words. I'm now wondering if I should have defended Ryan. Am I the butthole? Not the butthole. Ryan refuses to accept when someone tells him no and stop. Use this information wisely. Not the butthole. Ryan didn't deserve to be defended there. I'm sorry, I'm sure you love Ryan, but good lord, he sounds insufferable. He wasn't being nice. He was being patronizing. Lily neither wanted nor needed his help. He stuck his nose where it didn't belong and he was asked to stop numerous times. I would have kicked him out too. Am I the butthole for selling the Nintendo Switch my aunt got me for Christmas? Let me preface this by saying this is a throwaway account because I'm sure family will recognize me. So here's the situation. I, 17 male, recently got a Nintendo Switch for Christmas from my aunt. I was over the moon when I opened it. I've been wanting one for a while but I couldn't afford it. So fast forward the next day, my aunt hands me a note. I read it, and it's a list of rules and regulations that she wants me to follow while playing the Switch. According to her rules, I have to give her daughter, who is also visiting, a certain amount of playtime each day whenever she's around. I have to keep the volume at a certain level. I can't play any games with violence or adult themes, which is basically just anything rated above E10+, and I'm not allowed to let anyone else play it without her permission. There was also one other rule. I had to enable parental controls so she could monitor my activity. To give you some context, I see this aunt maybe twice a year. I understand that she's just trying to look out for me and make sure that I'm not playing inappropriate games, but I felt like she was treating me like a child and that her rules were a bit ridiculous. So I decided to sell the Switch online at a steep discount and use the money to buy a new one without any strings attached. My aunt found out and got pissed, saying I was ungrateful and that I should have thought about her feelings before I decided to do something so selfish. My parents are also mad at me and say I should have just talked to her about it first. Did I do something wrong here? Am I the butthole? Ha ha. Well played, young man. And sounds like the relative from hell. Not the butthole. Not the butthole, you are 17, not 7. Gifts with strings aren't gifts. If you were my kid, I'd be patting you on the back for thinking outside of the box and finding a solution to her rules. Good job. Not the butthole. She didn't give you a gift. She gave you a contract/obligation/responsibility. Better, I think, would be to have read the rules, politely said no, thank you, and handed it back. But the money is nice. Am I the butthole for making noise in the gym? I, 26 male, came back to my suburban hometown for the holidays and signed up for a gym membership at the local Planet Fitness to tide me over while I was away from home. I've been going to the gym for 5 years now and think I'm familiar with typical gym etiquette, but maybe I'm off? Today, I was doing chest flies on the cable machine at a fairly heavy weight for me. At the end of the set, as usual, I'd stop, let go of one side near the pulley, and then aim to let go of the other somewhat near the other pulley, as the other pulley would pull me after letting go of one side. Given this was the cable machine, it made a decent amount of noise at the end of every set when I let go, but I wasn't making noise in between reps and it's not like I was letting go from full extension. After 2 sets, a person, 30-35 m, came up to me and admittedly asked me politely to make less noise. Fair enough. Edit, for clarity, this person was another gym goer, not an employee. Afterward, I tried to more gently let go of the cables near the pulleys, maybe 4 to 6 inches on both sides. This still made a bit of noise, but no more than any other machine might make. The guy came back and said something along the lines of, I already asked you to stop nicely. This is dangerous and also might crack the weights. I'm not going to ask you again. There was a bit of back and forth but I said I am putting it down lightly. I'm not going to gently touch down the weights. Letting it go near touching is already more than a person typically does. He also said his safety worry was that the noise might distract people lifting weights, but who doesn't expect noise in the gym? First time this has happened to me. Normally I have my headphones in so I've never thought about this either when I use the machine or others do. Am I the butthole, or in the wrong? You're the butthole, if you need to slam your weights down instead of placing gently, they're too heavy for you. Dropping a weight 4 to 6 inches is slamming them. You're the butthole here. You're the butthole because Planet Fitness has been known for discouraging any noise for over a decade now. It's hard to imagine you didn't know this as they have a prominent lunk alarm. Am I the butthole for telling my cousin it's her own fault that she's single and broke? Using a throwaway account just in case. I, 25 female, recently got engaged a few months back and my fiancé Carter, 26 male, and I are deep in the wedding planning stages. We were both at a family dinner party this past weekend when people asked us how the wedding planning was going, particularly my cousin Danny, 32 female. Carter and I have been very fortunate to be in a situation where we can plan our dream wedding and are able to pay majority of it ourselves and some help from our parents. When we went into the details of how we want it to be a big wedding to invite a lot of friends and family we haven't seen in years due to COVID, Danny immediately made comments about how we're spending twice her income for one day no one else cares about and many other disrespectful comments throughout the night about our plans. For some context, Danny was pursuing a college degree that was completely financed by my parents as her mother could not afford it, but in her last year she was expelled due to getting caught plagiarizing on a draft of her thesis. She hid this from my parents for a whole year, but still continued to accept their monthly checks that were meant to be for her tuition and instead pocketed the money, around $30,000. This basically has limited her opportunities in the job market as she never graduated, and her then boyfriend left her a year ago after discovering what she had done and didn't want to be with someone that had been lying about their degree and income. After her initial comment, she then went on to say how if my fiancé and I are able to spend all this money on our wedding, we could put the money to better use by helping her out instead as she wants to pursue community college courses to finish her degree. I said absolutely not and this caused a huge argument because she kept saying how it's not fair that I'm rubbing it in about how I get the fancy wedding and fancy fiancé and she is struggling to pay her bills after her ex kicked her out. I do sympathize with her situation, but she literally cheated, got kicked out of school as a consequence, proceeded to lie and steal $30,000 from my parents, and then lost her boyfriend for hiding all this from him for 2 years. The reason Danny is in this situation is her own fault, and I told her this exactly in front of everyone at dinner. Now our grandmother is calling me nonstop saying how I'm being selfish and inconsiderate when my cousin is clearly going through a really hard stage in her life and family doesn't humiliate one another. Basically she now is siding with my cousin saying maybe I could scale down my wedding a bit to not rub it in her face. It's kind of always been like this with my grandmother growing up because Danny is the firstborn grandchild that came after many miscarriages and was always favored over my siblings and I. So am I the butthole, or I guess more realistically, was I being a bad person for the way I responded to Danny? Not the butthole. She has had plenty of chances evidently. Not the butthole, Danny is an adult and more than responsible for facing the consequences of her own actions. She very well could have not cheated, on a thesis might I add, and finished her degree. Then she wouldn't be broke. And she didn't have to lie to her boyfriend about the situation, but she did, and that's why she's single. You're completely right, it is her own fault and she needs a wake-up call. If grandma cares about Danny so much, why can't she pay for her community college payments then? Do yourself a favor and uninvited both Danny and your grandmother from your wedding. You're doing nothing wrong and deserve to enjoy this event however you and your fiancé choose to do so. Not the butthole. You didn't actually do much here. You answered questions about your wedding plans and said no when your cousin asked you to pay her tuition. Even without the history between your cousin and your parents, you're not the butthole. How you spend your money is your business. It might have been slightly different if you'd gloated about your financial situation or mocked your cousin about hers, but you didn't. From what you wrote versus your grandmother's reaction, your cousin is likely telling her a very twisted version of the story. Am I the butthole for uninviting some of my husband's friends from a trip they planned while we were separated? My husband and I were separated for 3 years, and in that time, I realized that some of my so-called friends were really just his friends all along. Some of them treated me pretty badly and like I was suddenly less than them because I was no longer with my husband. Earlier this year, before we started reconciling, my husband and his friends planned a trip to Switzerland. My husband asked me if I wanted to come since they were staying in his family's cabin. I asked him who was going, and when he told me, I said I wouldn't go if 4 of his friends were going because of how they treated me when they thought we were going to get divorced. He was unhappy about it, but he agreed I could uninvite them if it meant I would go on the trip. Obviously, the friends who've been uninvited are upset and they've been calling me names for making my husband uninvite them. The trip is at the end of next month, so they're trying to get him, and the rest of the group, to re-invite them, but it hasn't worked because of me. Am I the butthole? Going with you're the butthole, though your husband is a big one too. This trip wasn't planned by you, and he just added you? And then booted a bunch of others just because you found out a few chose him in the separation, which sucks but happens. That's a truly crappy thing to do. The friends supporting you too sound like Oz as well, unless said uninvited people were straight up abusive. That changes things, but other than that y'all are just being catty, unpleasant people. If I were one of the uninvolved friend, I'd nope out of this drama because this is all so dumb. Everybody sucks here. Reneging on invitations is impolite. That's particularly true when they may have already purchased tickets, arranged for time away from jobs, etc. The reality is that in most cases of separation/divorce, mutual friends of the couple are, in fact, likely to be more friendly with one particular partner. That does not make the friends Oz themselves, although they should be more mature than to call you names. Am I the butthole for not wanting any and everybody to use my bathroom? I live with a roommate in a 2-bed/2-bath apartment. Our apartment is set up where when you enter the apartment it's into a general kitchen area. The living room is straight beyond the kitchen. To the relative immediate left of kitchen is my bathroom, and immediately following that is my bedroom entrance, 2 separate entrances from kitchen. Jim, my roommate, has the master bedroom to the right of the kitchen. Jim has an enclosed bathroom accessible only through his bedroom. It's only accessible to him. Mine is accessible to anyone. My roommate and I get along and like each other fairly well. Recently though, there is drama bubbling up due to the fact that I just don't want people that come over, all his friends and visitors, to just solely, or mostly, use my bathroom due to its proximity and ease of access to the public spaces. I've said as much. I even was quite verbal to an overnight guest he had when I caught her using my bathroom in the middle of the night. Keep in mind she has access to his bathroom while she's sleeping in his room. Also, she had left her clothing on the floor in my bathroom. As well as previous guests have used my bathroom, leaving tampons in the trash and the like. Am I the butthole for just wanting Jim's guests to use his bathroom and not mine? Conversely, I would gladly allow my guests to use my bathroom and wouldn't even dream of asking them to use Jim's. There is some tension now between Jim and I because we have vastly different beliefs and values around this subject. Thanks. No buttholes here. There's no right or wrong here, though. You two roommates want different things. It is weird for someone sleeping in his bedroom to not use the bathroom that's right there, but on the other hand it's not weird for other guests who are not sleeping with Jim to use the bathroom that is right there instead of going through someone's bedroom to use the other one. You're not an off for wanting it to be different, but you are expecting most people, the ones not sleeping in Jim's bedroom, to do the not obvious thing. This is something you should have explicitly discussed with Jim rather than making assumptions that it would happen the not obvious way. Is Jim paying more rent for having the master bedroom? Would it soothe your feelings if he did? Just an idea. If things continue this way, with many of Jim's guests using the bathroom near your bedroom, Jim needs to start cleaning that bathroom, at a minimum. Not the butthole. His guests, his bathroom. It should be obvious in my opinion. Not the butthole. Get a lock. Am I the butthole for not giving my husband a pass on doing Christmas morning without me? So a little backstory. I am a new grad RN at my local hospital. My schedule is 6 12-hour night shifts in a row. My husband works for himself and has 100% autonomy over his schedule. I worked Thanksgiving, Christmas Eve, and Christmas. I made sure everything was wrapped and organized, so all my husband had to do was place gifts under the tree, fill stockings, and send back our snitch from the North Pole. I did all the shopping and even took our 2 kids to go pick out gifts for him. Nothing crazy, but 100% from them with handwritten cards. Also, my husband is only responsible for filling my stocking and writing me a letter or card. I don't really care about expensive gifts, rather I want to know I was considered and thought about for at least a little bit leading up to Christmas. The shifts leading up to Christmas were a lot and heavy to say the least. I was so excited to get home Christmas morning and just watch my kids and husband open their gift I put a lot of time and thought into. So I get home and see my husband outside when I pulled up to our place. I handed him a cider I picked up in the way home. He gave me no heads up for what I was about to walk into. I walk into my living room and my kids were at the middle of the chaos that is Christmas morning. I instantly began to tear up. My youngest put aside a few gifts to wait for me to watch get opened. My husband told me he was just so tired and they were so excited he couldn't make them wait. I got home at 7:45 a.m. However, he wasn't too tired to put videos in his Snapchat of them opening gifts. I tired to explain the hurt to my husband and how he is showing our children how I am not a valuable me ever of our family. I'm trying to not let this hurt consume me, but I went devastated and feel like I got robbed of a Christmas with my 6 and 9-year-old I will never get back. He also used leftover candy to put in my stocking, putting absolutely no thought into it at all. I did play with them and hang out afterwards, but I had to get some sleep before my next shift at 7 p.m. I am having a hard time not being hurt anytime I think about it. Not the butthole, and honestly if he can't wrap his head around why you are so hurt then he needs to go in a bin. This was probably one of if not the last year your 9-year-old will still believe in the magic of Santa. He reaped all the rewards of all your hard work. I am so sorry. I was reading this and feeling the dread. I mean you even brought him a freaking cider. Your husband is such a massive butthole that I can't even convey how much. Not the butthole. So your husband just had to wait until about 7:45 8 o'clock for you to get home to open presents. If you told me you had work until noon, maybe I would understand. Usually I'd like to give guys the benefit of the doubt, but in this case, sorry, your husband is truly in butthole and wasn't considerate of your feelings in this situation. Am I the butthole got telling my moan she is never to tell her UFO story to my kids? Edit, this is my best telling of my mom's story, so many people asked. When my mom was 16 and my aunt was 19 they met some Air Force pilots from a base in Nevada while on the beach in San Diego. They snuck out of the house faux drive to Vegas to meet these guys. On the highway they saw a triangular ship that hovered over them and followed them for several miles. Then they came over a hill and another craft was parked in the middle of the road intending to stop the car. She and her sister were frozen and all the electronics died. Several of the normal big eye aliens approached the car and stared at them for several minutes before returning to the second ship which lifted off and was absorbed into the main ship. My mom says then several military vehicles came from behind them on the road and followed the triangular ship towards Las Vegas. They sat there for another hour or so then turned around and never met up with the guys and confessed to my grandparents what had happened. My grandpa said to Nasser speak of it again and about a week later her sister died in a car crash in Pacific Beach. OP. In the early 80s my mom claims to have seen a UFO with her sister, now passed away, while driving from San Diego to Nevada. To me the story is one of two things: she saw some sort of military aircraft and imagined or invented the rest. Second possibility is it's a total fabrication that she invented to cover up the pain of losing her sister who died in a car accident a few weeks after their road trip. Whatever the truth is, the story of seeing a UFO was a pivotal life event for her and she will bring it up constantly. To her credit the story has stayed consistent over the years. People are generally polite when she tells it but you can tell they are uncomfortable, think that she's lying and try to change the subject then avoid her. I feel so much second-hand embarrassment but she motors right through. My kids are old enough, 6 and 4, where I know she is going to start telling them the story. I don't want them to see her like that. I want her to be the sweet grandma who makes great waffles, not the look who says aliens approached her on the highway. At Christmas I finally brought it up to her and I clearly hurt her feelings. She said she knows what she say and it affected her deeply and changed how she views and reacts to the world. But if that's my wishes she'll respect it, but it hurt her for sure. Am I the butthole for placing this limit on her? You're the butthole, if you cannot without a doubt disprove her story, then you have no say in whether or not it's true. You want her to be this idealistic grandma, when in reality the grandmas that are a little crazy are the best. You want to build your kids' sense of wonder and imagination in the world, this is the way. Let her be who she is, who are you to tell her different? You're the butthole, don't try to reinvent your mom's personality to fit some idea you have of the perfect grandmother. If you think the kids are too young and would be scared by this story, It's fine to ask her to wait until they're older. My mom believes her ex-husband's ghost sits on her bed each year on their anniversary. My, now grown, kids have heard this story many times. They just think it's a quirky grandma thing. They have a wonderful relationship with her. You're the butthole. I'm just going to say this. You couldn't find any other day of the year to discuss this with her? You had to do it at Christmas? Your embarrassment when she tells the story is the problem. Not that it's going to somehow harm your children. You don't want to hear it. So ask her to stop talking about it when you are present and be done with it. This isn't about your kids at all. Kids would just roll with it. Can't even see them having nightmares either unless you're letting them watch Aliens and they correlate the movie to her encounter. You owe your mother a sincere apology and explanation of your own embarrassment when she starts talking about it. Be honest with her. But don't make this about your kids because this is definitely a you issue. You're the butthole. She thinks she saw a UFO, lots of people do, it's a cool story and won't hurt kids at all. Am I the butthole for not wanting to spend New Year's Eve with my husband's kids? Edit, he has another separate home to meet the kids during weekends cause they don't want me to be involved with the kids. Otherwise he meets them in their family home. They still celebrate Easter and other major holidays and family events as a family, him, his ex-wife and the kids, without me. His ex-wife is homophobic and is still coming to terms with his sexuality. Edit, he is my husband but we recently got married and I'm used to saying boyfriend. Edit, I feel like I should clarify that I am not involved with the kids and likely won't ever get too involved. Him and ex-wife are adamant that the kids know that they have one mother and one father and they don't want me to have a parental role and for the kids to think they have two dads. Here's the situation, my boyfriend and I have been together for 3 years. We both have demanding jobs and are usually pretty busy, so we try to make the most of our time together when we're not working. This year, my husband's ex-wife asked if we could have the kids for Christmas. We agreed, thinking it would be a nice way to spend the holiday and give the kids a chance to spend time with their dad and for them to warm up to me. I'm a guy and his ex-wife has only recently warmed up to him dating me, so this is progress. Well, Christmas was a bit of a mixed bag. The kids were grateful and seemed to enjoy spending time with us, but they also fought a lot and made a mess of my office. It was really stressful trying to keep them from arguing and they seemed to be constantly bickering with each other over who got what toy and who is eating what food. Now, my husband's ex-wife has asked if we can have the kids again for New Year's Eve. My husband wants to say yes, but I'm really not interested. I feel like we've already put in a lot of effort for Christmas and I don't want to spend another holiday with the kids, especially if it's going to involve a lot of fighting and stress. I've tried explaining this to my husband, but he just says that it's not fair to the kids and that we should be more understanding. He also thinks because the kids have been so accepting of me we should have them around for Nye as well. I feel like I'm being selfish, but I also don't want to spend another holiday with the kids if it's going to be as stressful as Christmas was. Am I the butthole for not wanting to spend New Year's Eve with my husband's kids? You're the butthole, you are dating a father. His kids should always come first. If you can't handle that, don't date a dad. So I'm going to say you're the butthole here, even though I definitely empathize with wanting to have a quiet holiday with your husband. But honestly, you signed up for this. You are married to a man with 3 children. You knew that when you started dating. Life doesn't get to be quiet and stress-free. I think you seriously need to reconsider the obligations and responsibilities of being married to someone who has children. And whether this truly is a life that you want. You don't get to have your husband without his kids, period. You don't get to pick and choose when it's convenient or enjoyable to have the kids. You're the butthole. You married a parent. Their kids should always be a priority. Always. If something tragic happened to their mother, the kids would be with your husband 24/7. If you're not prepared for possibility, then you had no business marrying a parent. You're the butthole. The kids were in his life before you. Get used to it or get out. Am I the butthole for wanting my mom to turn down a cruise to be there for my college decision letter? Okay, this is my first ever actual Reddit post if I'm being honest, but this situation is driving me crazy. My mom has always been very close to me and she's always the person I turn to during times where I can't handle my emotions because I have psychological issues. Recently, she has been under stress because we have been moving and a lot of crap with our housing and her family has been going on. Fast forward to today. My mother, while at breakfast, announces that she is going on a cruise that was offered to her for free, and tells us the days. I'm already not comfortable when she leaves because I do not feel as comfortable in the care of my father nor his parents, but that's another issue. I try to be happy, but then I realize that the day I get my decision from my dream college is smack dab in the middle of that week. I told her and she responded with, "I just ask that you open it with someone close to you," and I just shut down and went in my room. It hurts because I want my mom to be there and I don't want her to miss this core moment and it's important to me. Plus, if I don't get in, I have nobody to turn to and lean on as I would my mother. But I don't want to be selfish and stop her from doing something that could relieve her stress. Am I the butthole? Update, Thank you all for clarifying. I knew I probably would be, and I did kinda need the reality check. I should also clarify that the college is doing emails, not letters, so it won't be postponed or anything like that. Which doesn't change anything, but yeah. Second update/info, I haven't guilted my mom. I made sure that she didn't see me upset because, as I said before, I don't want to ruin her fun. Secondly, father and father's parents don't believe in mental illnesses. They tend to treat me like an outcast, and have hidden my meds on multiple occasions. This would explain me being so anxious about being left with them. Final edit, thank you for all of your comments, the helpful ones. My overall solution is just to bring the situation up with my therapist at my next appointment. That way I can discuss ways to have the conversation about how I feel without making it seem like I'm guilt-tripping her into anything. I honestly want her to go on the trip, but I also want her to be there. For the comments calling me coddled, I have had a helicopter mom most of my life and she is amazing, but I admit I am very sheltered. Maturity is needed, and maybe handling the decision alone will be the first step in that. You're the butthole. Softly. But your mum deserves to go on the cruise she has been offered for free. Please go and hug her and tell her that going on the cruise is what you want for her. You can FaceTime her when you open the letter. Don't take away a week of relaxing for a stressed mum. She will resent you. You will resent yourself when you see that you can do this on your own. You will be off to college on your own soon. You can do this. Good luck. You're the butthole and are being selfish about this situation. While I can sympathize with your anxiety, if you are getting college admissions letters, then you are old enough to invest in developing better coping mechanisms. Edit, if this core moment is really one that you truly must share with your mom, you can also wait until she gets back. You're the butthole. Gently asking, if you're not comfortable with her away for a week, how are you going to be okay in college? Her life cannot revolve around your needs forever, she needs to have a life too. And I'm sure she deserves this cruise, yes? So let's be the grown-up teenager almost college student we need to be successful, and be happy for her too. The letter can wait for her to return if it's really necessary she's there. But this may be a good chance for you to begin to learn how to pull away and grow up a bit on your own 2 feet. Am I the butthole for reporting my neighbor to CPS? My neighbor has 2 kids, a toddler around 3-ish and a baby that's less than a year. She's unemployed and has a roommate, but neither of them pay any attention to the toddler. Here's why I contacted CPS. I'm pretty sure there's a developmental issue with the child and that he's nonverbal. He will scream and cry all day. This is in an apartment building, so it's really easy to hear. Throw himself against the wall and door, attempt to hit the baby, caught someone telling him not to do that, and generally just be neglected. Mom took the baby outside when it was nicer weather. I have never once seen the toddler outside of the apartment. She has visitors that come and go on occasion and I'm not sure of the relationship, but she has also left the toddler and the baby home alone for extended periods of time. CPS did come and check things out, and shortly thereafter Grandma started coming to spend time with him and things were better. Well, Grandma hasn't been around much for the past few months except to stop by and say hi, and the behavior has started again. Between the toddler screaming, crying, and throwing himself into things, and the baby crying more often than not, I'm considering contacting CPS again. However, some friends advised me that I was out of line for doing that and should have taken different steps. So, am I the butthole? Edit, I just want to thank everyone who has said that I'm not the here. I'm not around 24/7, but hearing the crying and screaming go on for so long breaks my heart. For those wondering what my friends would have preferred I do instead of contacting CPS, it was suggested that I offer to watch her kids when I'm available, or that I help her find some type of service to assist her with her son. I'm a full-time student with a job on the side. I did what I felt was best, but if anyone has any other suggestions, I'm listening. Thank you all again. Edit number 2. For those of you who think I'm being nosy or that I should stay out of it, I should also mention that I'm a paramedic and have been for 11 years. We're legally required to report cases of child neglect while on duty. Since I'm not on duty when this is happening, I'm simply making the call as a concerned citizen, not a paramedic, in which case they tend to move quicker, and there would also be documentation by either myself or my partner, and possibly hospital staff if the child was transported and treated for something. I also don't work the squads in the same area that I live anymore. Not the butthole if you think children that young are being left unattended. Why would you have more loyalty to their mum than them, and their safety? Not the butthole. Call CPS. Continue to call if the children don't seem to be cared for. They are tiny humans. They are the priority. Not the butthole, and I don't get your friend's logic. Why wouldn't you report that? Not the butthole. We all read stories about children who were abused and no one said anything. It sounds like there's cause for concern. We are all afraid of making a false accusation, but I had a friend who worked for social services who told me they understand no one can know what's going on in someone else's house. She said although working for CPS is difficult, they do everything they can to protect and save children. Calling is the right thing. Am I the butthole for not providing food for my friend's dad? Basically, I, 24 male, have recently been hosting my friend, 23 male, and his family at my home. His dad, 54 male, and his mom, 53 female, are both staying with me as well. Let's call my friend A. I was super excited to have A over in my country. I live in Portugal, because I'd met them on my 3-month-long tour to the USA and I thought I'd repay them by having them in my house for Christmas. I didn't know A was bringing his parents, but apparently it was a surprise. Anyways, I had cooked a traditional Portuguese meal for Christmas dinner, bacalhau, Atlantic cod, because I thought it would be a nice gesture to welcome them to my country and show them what life's like here. However, A's dad, B, was super frustrated about this. He said I was crazy for breaking his Christmas traditions and that foreigners were always trying to change the good Americans' way. I tried to remain calm, but he just insulted me and my country a lot, so I eventually kicked him out. A's mom left too, but he stayed. I have no idea why they left, it's just some fish. And I thought it would be a nice thing to do for them considering they're staying here for free. A was initially on my side, but then he started accusing me of provoking his father and being rude for not accommodating for the guests. He left as well, and now I'm receiving a lot of messages saying I was so rude for acting the way I did and I should have just made a turkey. So, am I the butthole? Not the butthole. That's some bullcrap that they tried to pull. If he wanted his own Christmas traditions, he should have stayed home. Not the butthole. Weird to join someone else for a holiday and expect them to follow your own traditions. If they wanted their food, they should have stayed home. Am I the butthole for refusing to turn off the camera in my bedroom while guests stay over? My 22 female, roommate, 25 female, C, is having guests over for New Year's at our house. It's a 4-bedroom house. The master, on the first floor, is mine. Upstairs the other 3, one is C's, the other is M's, 28 male, and the 4th is meant to be a guest bedroom, but it is currently used as storage by C and M. I'm currently overseas, but I'm still paying my share of the rent, which is $400 more per month than what they pay. None of the bedroom doors have locks. This has caused incidents, like when C was hosting a party the night before I had an early start for work, and her drunk friend entered my room at 3 a.m., and stood at the foot of my bed for about 30 seconds. This scared me and made me feel like I had no privacy in my own space, and I was not able to sleep. Based on that and knowing that C was hosting holiday get-togethers, I wanted to ensure my stuff in my bedroom were untouched while overseas. I initially wanted to get a lock for the door, but there were no rental-friendly options. So instead, I bought a security camera and set it up on a shelf in my room. Not even a couple hours after I left for the airport, my camera picked up activity. Both roommates came in. M seemed to be looking for something while disorganizing my stuff. C was behind him fixing what he touched. The day after, C entered my room, went to the bathroom, and took my hair dryer. Messaged me later asking if she could borrow it. They did not notice the camera until days later when C had to let an electrician into my bedroom and saw it. C asked me about it, and jokingly, said I lacked trust. I told her I had turned it on that day. Days later, C's mom entered to my room, looked around, and left. I was aware that C's family was coming over. Today she asked if her friends, 2 adults and their kid, could stay in my bedroom. Told me the lady has back problems and is pregnant, so she offered the master to not make her go upstairs. I made it clear that it makes me uncomfortable to have strangers sleep in my bedroom. However, they could stay under my conditions. My bedding cannot be used, everything has to be left as it was, and the camera is to be kept on. She was fine with the first 2 but told me the camera was too extreme. I explained that the camera was there for my own peace of mind, as I have my WFH equipment and valuable things that I want to make sure remain untouched. She said that the camera was creepy and felt uneasy since finding out about it. She also said it shows that I have no trust in her or M and assured me that they have never entered my room without my permission. Eventually told me that she allows me to keep the camera on, but she is still arguing with me through texts. I've seen through the camera that she is getting my room ready. So, am I the butthole for setting up a camera in my bedroom and refusing to turn it off while my roommate's guests stay there? Not the butthole. They've given you solid reasons to not trust them. Now you're offering the room conditionally and they won't take it. You aren't hiding the camera. It's not like it's hidden on a shelf and you're going to watch this lady change or whatever. Not the butthole. Your room, your rules. If she's not comfortable with the camera, her guests can find somewhere else to stay. Also, is it an older house with older doors? If not, swap your doorknob out for one with a lock. They are pretty cheap, definitely cost less than the camera. Keep the old doorknob so you can swap it back out when you move out. Am I the butthole for having my husband with me for the holidays? Kind of what the title says, but it's missing one key component. My dad died on Christmas Eve. Backstory, my bio dad is not in the picture. He left when I was real young, but my stepdad has been in my life since I was 6. He taught me how to write, ball a fist, to ride a bike, and the list goes on. Now, that's not to say we weren't without our problems. He was a recovering addict who relapsed a lot. Heroin being the drug of choice, but when he wasn't doing that he was drinking, and either one turned him into an butthole. So it's safe to say we had our ups and downs. Cycles of us talking and not talking. He relapsed in spring and we were in cycle of not talking, but he recently got sober. We had a discussion that we were going to meet up and talk. I was ready to form a relationship again. He was really happy to get his family back. Him and my mom were doing good. He really seemed to be doing a whole lot better. Current, my dad overdosed and died on Christmas Eve, leaving behind a wife and 5 children. My husband, L, and I usually spend Christmas Eve with his mother's family. So as I got the call, I looked at him and told him we had to cancel the plans with his mother. You would think that their response to it would be, "I'm so sorry. Take care of what you need to take care of." No. His mother asked if he could make it for just an hour, which he replied, "No, my wife needs me. I'm going to be honest, and maybe this makes me a dick. I knew an hour would turn into longer and I really didn't want to be without him." His father's response to him not making it for Christmas: "I can't get a refund on the things I bought." Then his grandmother, his sister, and his aunt all texted him saying they didn't understand. He said to all of them, "I know you're upset. I understand, but my wife needs me. I will cook you dinner later this week, but my wife and I won't be coming to Christmas Eve and Christmas dinner." I can understand why they would want him. We spent Thanksgiving with my family and he's in school, so it had been a while since they've seen him. His grandmother's old. I get it, but their texting didn't stop after Christmas. His aunt texted him the other day implying that I was selfish, that they needed him for Christmas, and that I didn't even like my dad that much. And it just keeps going. L's usually a chill person. I'd say out of the two of us I have the worst temper, but I have never seen him this mad, and he's been mad for days. He won't tell me exactly what they say, but he gives me a synopsis, and I have a feeling it's much worse than he's letting on. Honestly, they should be proud of the son they raised. L is a rock for a lot of people in my family. They consider him family. My mom gave him a key to her house. He's made her laugh, he's held her while she sobbed, he got my brother to open up, etc. He's been amazing. Edit, I'm leaving this URL here for anyone who wants more information on harm reduction. Not the butthole. You had a death in the family. His family is being ridiculous, and it's weird that they are making the cost of the dinner a factor. Absolutely not the butthole. Your dad died, and I am so sorry. Regardless of how they feel about your relationship with him, you are allowed to grieve. And your husband is doing what is right and helping you through this. In my family, we understand that the holiday is not the date, but the day you get together as family. This stickler crap of "be here on the holiday or you don't love us" is manipulative and just plain mean. You need time to grieve, and you need your husband to help you through it. You'll be there next year and you will hang out later when you feel able. His family can lick ants. Not the butthole. Your dad just passed away and they're concerned about not getting a refund on the things they bought. Props to your husband for sticking up for you. Def not the butthole, but I'd go no contact with the parents, they clearly don't seem to care about you. Would I be the butthole for leaving my friend's wedding party during the father-daughter dance? I didn't reply to the bot in time, so I don't think this was properly posted previously. I, 28 female, recently lost my dad. We were incredibly close and the grief has been all-consuming. I don't enjoy social events anymore because the grief follows me like a dark cloud, but I've agreed to go to my friend's, 28 female, wedding, which is abroad. Going is quite a big step for me in itself, compounded by the fact that I have a breastfed infant who I will be leaving with my mom. I know I'll to be a supportive and happy presence for her on the day, but I don't feel I'm going to be able to handle the father-daughter dance. My husband, 28 male, has suggested we quietly pop outside for some air during this, and I like the idea. I mentioned it to a wedding-obsessed colleague, 38 female, and they've implied I would be the butthole here for making it about myself. It's only one song, and we should be able to sneak out without anyone noticing, but now I'm questioning the whole thing. Not the butthole. You wouldn't be leaving the wedding. You would be stepping outside for a moment. There's nothing rude about that, especially if you just go quietly. I lost my father nearly 10 years ago, and I would still struggle watching a father-daughter dance. Grief is like that. You aren't making the moment about you. You are planning to let them have their moment. We can't turn our feelings off just because others might find them inconvenient. I think your plan is very good. I'm sorry for your loss. Not the butthole. Firstly, your colleague is a massive Just putting that out there. Anyone who sees wedding etiquette as more important than literal life and death is just plain wrong. With that said, you wouldn't be an for not witnessing your friend's dance for any reason. Even if it was because you received an important call at the time, it's not mandatory to witness every event at a wedding. The point of the dance is for your friend to share a moment with her dad, not for you to witness it. Lastly, my sincere condolences on losing your dad. I lost mine last year and it just plain sucks. Do whatever you need to do to get through this crafty time. I couldn't be there for that dance either. 20.